Welcome to Empathy Stories, where every tale reveals the strength of the human spirit and the power of resilience. Today, we bring you the extraordinary journey of Monica Jefferson, a woman who rose from being unseen to rewriting the rules of power in a corporate empire. Stay with us as we uncover her inspiring story of courage, determination, and justice. Monica Jefferson stepped into the polished marble lobby of Carter Enterprises. Her every move steady and deliberate. A mop rested in her hand, the bucket clattering faintly with each step. The building radiated corporate power, the kind that was often overwhelming to anyone not clad in a tailored suit. Monica's simple blue uniform contrasted starkly with the sleek modern art adorning the walls and the soft golden light from the chandelier above. But Monica walked with a quiet confidence, her dark eyes sharp and focused, taking in every detail. This was not just another workday for her. It was the culmination of years of planning, sacrifice, and dreams. To the rushing executives and hurried employees around her, Monica was invisible, a faceless figure in the background. They brushed past her without acknowledgement, too consumed by their deadlines and meetings to notice the woman who pushed her cart toward the janitor's closet. But Monica had no interest in their hurried glances or dismissive attitudes. If anything, she welcomed their indifference. To her, it was perfect. The less they noticed her, the more she could observe, and observation was her strength. As she opened the closet door, her lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. For years, she had studied this company from afar. Every department, every executive, every process, she knew it all. Monica had not been born into privilege or opportunity. She had been raised in a small, working-class neighborhood by her mother, a woman whose strength had been her greatest legacy. Monica's mother worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses and offices just like Carter Enterprises, often coming home with sore hands and tired feet. Yet, she never complained. Instead, she used those long hours to teach Monica the value of resilience, ambition, and self-respect. Growing up, Monica would sit by the kitchen table, watching her mother count the few dollars left after paying bills. Her mother's quiet dignity inspired her, and Monica vowed to one day control her own destiny, no matter how insurmountable the odds seemed. Those early lessons burned bright within her as she pushed through college, balancing multiple jobs to pay for tuition. She graduated not only with a degree in business, but with a burning desire to change the way the world operated for women like her mother, and for herself. Standing in the small, dim janitor's closet, Monica took a deep breath. This moment, this job as a cleaner, was not a step back for her, but a step closer to fulfilling her dream. Beneath her uniform, Monica was not just an employee of Carter Enterprises. She was its largest shareholder. She had spent years quietly acquiring stock, maneuvering strategically and without fanfare. No press conferences, no headlines, just a deliberate and calculated rise to power. Today, she wasn't here to scrub floors or clean windows. She was here to see her company from the ground up, from the perspective of the very people who kept it running. She wanted to experience what they experienced, to understand their struggles, their frustrations, and their dreams. This wasn't just business for Monica, it was personal. She knew all too well what it felt like to be invisible, to have her hard work go unnoticed and her value dismissed. But she also knew what it felt like to take control, to seize the opportunities others couldn't see. Today was the first step in rewriting not only her story, but the story of Carter Enterprises itself. Monica Jefferson guided her cart through the bustling corridors of Carter Enterprises, her mind sharp and her demeanor calm. Around her, the office pulsed with activity, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, and voices exchanging hurried updates on deadlines and presentations. To the employees rushing past her, she was little more than a fixture of the building, someone whose presence was acknowledged only in the periphery of their vision. This invisibility was not new to Monica, but today, it served her purpose perfectly. As she maneuvered toward the executive elevator, Monica's ears caught snippets of conversations from clusters of employees. Some talked about numbers and contracts. Others whispered about office gossip. At one corner near the reception desk, a young woman with perfectly styled hair leaned toward her colleague and whispered, "Did you see the new cleaning lady?" Her voice carried just enough volume to be heard by anyone nearby. "I bet she doesn't last a week." "They never do." Her colleague, a man in a crisp shirt and tie, barely glanced up from his monitor. "You know how it is," he said with a smirk. "They're invisible to the executives. Just bodies to clean up after them." Monica's hand tightened on the cart's handle, her knuckles whitening for a moment. But she kept her expression serene. Invisible. That word again. It wasn't new to her. It was an idea she had lived with for much of her life. People like her, black, from working-class backgrounds, and especially women, were often overlooked, their contributions ignored, and their value underestimated. But Monica had long learned that invisibility, while painful, could also be a tool. When no one sees you coming, they never expect the moment you rise. Riding the elevator to the top floor, Monica allowed herself a moment to reflect on the steps that had brought her here. There had been so many long nights, so many sacrifices. When she was younger, she used to stare at glossy pictures of corporate boardrooms like this one in magazines and wonder if people like her would ever be allowed in those spaces. At the time, it had seemed like an impossible dream, but her mother had taught her something invaluable. No one gives you permission to dream, and no one hands you the key to success. You take it. You earn it. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and Monica stepped into a world of opulence. The executive floor was sleek and modern, with glass walls that allowed an unobstructed view of the city skyline. Polished mahogany desks and expensive artwork adorned the space, and the faint scent of leather and cologne filled the air. This was the seat of power, the space where decisions were made that affected thousands of lives. As Monica wheeled her cart forward, her sharp eyes caught sight of the boardroom. Inside, the executives of Carter Enterprises sat around a massive table, their postures relaxed and their voices loud with self-assured laughter. These men, clad in tailored suits, believed they were untouchable, their positions secured by their supposed brilliance and hard work. They didn't know Monica was watching, nor did they care. One of them, Robert Blake, the CEO, leaned back in his chair, exuding an air of smug confidence. "Hard work pays off," he declared, his voice carrying through the glass walls. His words were met with a chorus of chuckles. "More like smart work," added James, the CFO, raising his glass in a mock toast. "Yeah, smart work," another chimed in, his tone dripping with disdain. "It's not like the janitor downstairs will ever be sitting here with us. Some people are just born to scrub floors." Their laughter rang out, echoing off the glass walls. Monica's expression didn't falter, but inside, her resolve hardened. They saw her as nothing more than a cleaner, someone unworthy of recognition or respect. Little did they know, the woman they mocked was the one holding their futures in her hands. For a moment, Monica paused outside the boardroom, her hands steady as she adjusted her grip on the cart. She knew what they thought of her, but she also knew something they didn't. Power wasn't just held in titles or offices. Real power came from knowing the game better than anyone else, and Monica had been studying it her whole life. She wasn't here to prove them wrong. She was here to rewrite the rules entirely. Monica Jefferson wheeled her cart through the hallways of Carter Enterprises, her every movement purposeful, yet understated. The soft hum of voices and the hurried footsteps of employees filled the space. It was a familiar rhythm of corporate life, a cadence she had observed countless times but never participated in. Her position today, as a janitor, allowed her to remain an unnoticed presence, blending seamlessly into the environment. But Monica wasn't here to simply blend in. She was here to listen, to learn, and to understand the dynamics that had shaped this empire. She paused near the break room, drawn by the sound of hushed voices. Inside, two interns were speaking in tones so low it seemed they were trying to escape the building's very walls. Monica leaned casually against her cart, listening carefully without intruding. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm even meant to be here," said one of them, a young black woman with her hair styled in tight braids. Her hands nervously clutched a coffee cup as her voice trembled with frustration. No matter how hard I work, it's like I'm invisible to them. They only see my mistakes, never my effort. The other in turn, a young man with glasses that slipped slightly down his nose, nodded in agreement. "You're not alone," he replied, his voice tinged with resignation. "It feels like one wrong move, and you're done for. I keep my head down and hope they don't notice me at all." The young woman sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I try to tell myself it's worth it, but some days it feels like it'll never get better." Monica felt a pang of empathy as she watched them. Their words echoed the same struggle she had faced when she was younger. The uncertainty, the exhaustion, the constant pressure to prove themselves in a system designed to overlook people like them. It was a weight she knew all too well. Slowly, she stepped into the break room, her presence drawing their attention. The young woman glanced up, startled. Her gaze softened when she saw Monica's gentle smile. "Don't let them get to you," Monica said, her voice calm and steady. "People who think they know everything often have the most to learn. And you," she said, looking directly at the young woman, "are stronger than you realize. Don't ever doubt that." The young woman blinked, surprised by the unexpected kindness. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Monica nodded and continued down the hallway, her thoughts heavy with memories. She had once been in the same position, young, ambitious, but constantly reminded of her place. She knew the weight of trying to fit into a world that seemed determined to push her out. It wasn't just about the work. It was about surviving in an environment that judged her before she even spoke. As she walked, her resolve deepened. She wasn't just here to take control of Carter Enterprises for herself. She was here for the interns, for the receptionists, for the cleaning staff, everyone who had ever been made to feel invisible. She knew what it was like to be underestimated, to have her dreams dismissed as unrealistic, and she knew how powerful it felt to defy those expectations, to rise above the labels and limitations others tried to impose. The next morning, Monica arrived at the office with a renewed sense of purpose. She wore the same plain blue uniform, pushed the same cart, and maintained the same quiet demeanor. But beneath the surface, she was brimming with anticipation. Her time as an invisible observer was drawing to a close. Soon, she would step into the light, not as a janitor, but as the woman who held the reins of the very empire they thought they controlled. When Monica entered the executive floor again, she noticed the tension in the air. The men in tailored suits were already gathered in the boardroom, their voices muffled but urgent. No doubt, they were plotting their next moves, oblivious to the shift that was about to take place. Monica smiled to herself. Let them talk. Let them plan. They still had no idea that the real power in the room was quietly waiting outside their doors, ready to reveal itself. Monica Jefferson ascended to the executive floor, her heart steady and her purpose clear. The tension in the air was palpable, and the muffled voices coming from the boardroom hinted at a group of men confident in their dominion over the company. Monica's plain uniform, complete with her ID badge and mop bucket, concealed the extraordinary power she wielded. The very men whose voices carried through the glass walls were entirely unaware of the seismic shift that was about to shake their world. The boardroom, a symbol of prestige and control, was a vision of excess. A polished mahogany table stretched across the room, flanked by sleek leather chairs. Expensive artwork adorned the walls, and the city skyline sprawled behind the executives through floor-to-ceiling windows. At the head of the table sat Robert Blake, the CEO, exuding an aura of authority. His silver hair was combed back neatly, and his navy blue suit seemed to reflect the opulence of his position. Surrounding him were his trusted lieutenants, James, the CFO known for ruthless cost-cutting, Richard, the smooth-talking marketing director, and Oliver, the abrasive operations manager. Their conversation, punctuated by bursts of laughter, carried a sense of triumph. "Hard work pays off," Blake declared, leaning back in his chair with a smug smile. His colleagues chuckled knowingly. "Smart work," James corrected, raising a glass. "We know how to play the game." Richard smirked, his voice dripping with condescension. It's not like the janitor downstairs will ever be sitting here with us. Some people are just born to scrub floors." Their laughter echoed through the room, loud and self-assured. To them, Monica was invisible, a fixture of the office whose purpose was to remain unnoticed. They had no idea that the woman they mocked was moments away from flipping their world upside down. Monica stood outside the boardroom, her mop bucket at her side, her face calm, but her resolve unwavering. She didn't feel anger, only clarity. She had spent years preparing for this moment, and she wouldn't waste it on emotions that could cloud her judgment. She stepped forward and pushed open the boardroom door. The laughter inside ceased abruptly as the executives turned to look at her. At first, their expressions were a mix of irritation and confusion. Robert Blake frowned, his tone clipped and dismissive. "What is it?" he asked, assuming she was there to clean. Monica stepped further into the room, her gaze steady and unwavering. "Actually, Mr. Blake," she said, her voice calm and deliberate, "I'm here for the meeting." The room fell in a stunned silence. The men exchanged bewildered glances, trying to make sense of her words. "The meeting?" Blake echoed, his brow furrowed in confusion. Monica reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded document. She stepped forward and placed it on the table in front of Blake. "Yes," she said, her tone unshaken. "The meeting where I inform you that, as of this morning, I am the majority shareholder of Carter Enterprises." Blake's face turned pale as he unfolded the paper, his hands trembling. His eyes darted over the words, searching for a loophole, a mistake, anything to invalidate the impossible truth staring back at him. This can't be real," he stammered. "How did you?" Monica folded her arms across her chest, her voice steady and unwavering. "While you were busy dismissing people like me, I was making moves quietly, strategically. And now, I hold the controlling shares of this company." Richard leaned forward, his face a mixture of disbelief and anger. "This has to be a joke," he muttered. Monica turned her gaze to him, her tone sharp but composed. "It's no joke. For years, this company has run on arrogance and disregard for the people who make it function. That changes today." The silence in the room was deafening. The men who had once laughed and mocked now sat frozen, their power slipping through their fingers. Monica could see the panic in their eyes, the dawning realization that everything they thought they controlled was no longer theirs. She felt no need to gloat. This was not about revenge. It was about justice, about taking what had always been hers and making a system fairer for those who came after her. "I'm not here to play your game," Monica said, her voice firm but calm. "I'm here to change it." Monica Jefferson stood tall in the boardroom, her presence commanding despite her plain blue uniform. The stunned executives, who just moments ago had been basking in their arrogance, now sat frozen in disbelief. Their world had shifted, and the woman they had mocked as invisible was now the one holding the reins of power. The weight of her announcement hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. She had taken control of Carter Enterprises, and there was no going back. Robert Blake, the once confident CEO, stared at the document in his hands as if willing it to change. His voice, trembling with shock, broke the silence. This doesn't make sense. You're just a janitor. How could you possibly?" Monica's voice cut through his words, calm and resolute. "I'm not just anything, Mr. Blake. I am the daughter of a woman who cleaned houses and offices like this one to give me a chance at a better life. I am someone who learned the system you built, studied its flaws, and found my way in. And now, I'm the majority shareholder of this company." Her words landed like blows, stripping the room of its earlier smugness. Blake leaned back in his chair, his face pale and his carefully constructed confidence unraveling. Across the table, James, the CFO, fidgeted with his tie, his usual bravado replaced with visible discomfort. Richard, the marketing director, leaned forward, his expression a mixture of fear and disbelief. "You can't just walk in here and change everything," he said, his voice unsteady. "This company, this board has been running things for years. It doesn't work like that." Monica turned her gaze toward him, her expression unwavering. Exactly. It doesn't work, at least not for the people who keep it running. For years, this company has thrived on the labor of people you've ignored. You celebrate your success while dismissing the very hands that make it possible. That ends today. The room fell silent again as Monica's words settled over the executives like a storm cloud. She could see the resistance in their eyes, the panic of men who had never imagined losing control. But this wasn't just about taking power from them. It was about building something better, something fairer. For too long, Monica continued, her voice steady but charged with emotion. People like my mother, like me, and like so many others in this building have been treated as expendable. You've dismissed our value, ignored our contributions, and laughed at our dreams. But today, we take our rightful place. Her words weren't just for the men seated before her. They were for every worker in the building, every person who had been silenced or overlooked. Monica felt a surge of pride as she thought about the interns she'd overheard, the cleaning staff she'd worked alongside, and the countless others who had felt the sting of invisibility. This wasn't just her victory, it was theirs too. Blake cleared his throat, his voice strained as he tried to regain control of the conversation. "And what exactly do you plan to do with this company?" he asked, his tone a mix of skepticism and desperation. Monica stepped forward, her hands resting lightly on the back of an empty chair. "I plan to run it with dignity and respect. I plan to ensure that every voice is heard, that every worker is valued, and that success isn't built on the backs of the unseen. This company will be a place where everyone matters." Her gaze swept across the room, meeting each executive's eyes. They looked back at her, some defiant, others resigned, all of them realizing that their reign was over. Monica wasn't asking for their approval. She didn't need it. "You've spent years playing a game designed to keep people like me out," she said, her voice rising slightly, filled with the weight of her conviction. "But today, I'm rewriting the rules. This is not about revenge. It's about justice. It's about building a future where power isn't hoarded at the top, but shared with the people who make success possible." The silence that followed was profound, stretching on as the executives processed the reality of their new world. Monica felt no need to fill it. She had said everything she needed to say. Turning on her heel, she walked to the door, her steps deliberate and steady. As she reached it, she paused and looked back. "Oh," she said, her tone almost casual. "And Mr. Blake, you might want to start updating your resume." Without waiting for a response, she exited the boardroom, leaving behind a group of men who had once thought themselves untouchable. The corridors outside felt different now, as if they were charged with a new energy. Monica walked with her head held high, the weight of years of struggle lifting from her shoulders. This was her moment, not just for her, but for everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. The workers she passed didn't yet know what had happened in the boardroom, but Monica felt their presence keenly. This was for them, for the intern who doubted her place, for the janitors who worked tirelessly without recognition, for the countless others who deserved to be seen. Monica Jefferson had taken the first step in reshaping not just a company, but the future it represented, and she wasn't done yet. Thank you for watching Empathy Stories. Monica Jefferson's journey reminds us that true power lies in perseverance and self-belief. If her story inspired you, please like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt tales of resilience and transformation. Together, let's celebrate the extraordinary in everyday lives. See you in the next story.